Still the one that.
All right, it's 6 o'clock. We'll get our meeting started and call the meeting to order.
But it's not the whole.
First thing we'll have on the agenda, thank you, will be our minutes from the previous meetings, and then next will be the oath of officer for David Sublett. Reading him in. Completion and review of unfinished business, ordinance 2026-1140, the final reading. An ordinance to amend Title 18 of the Mount Pleasant Municipal Code relating to sewer use by repealing Chapter 2 in its entirety and replacing Title 18, Chapter 2 with a new chapter pertaining to sewer use. Corey, Philip?
So we went over this in detail last time. This is your sewer use / pretreatment ordinance. All of these changes are just to get in line with the TDEC requirements, and there were no changes from the first reading. I can go over the changes we talked about last time if you want me to, but okay.
Anybody need that?
Yeah, go over the whole thing.
I got pages and pages.
I'm
So,
kidding, no.
Oh, I love
I'm
it.
good. Hey, can I?
yeah. Chocolate?
Oh, pink.
Oh.
A pen. All right, ordinance 2026-1143, stormwater management, final reading, and ordinance establishing a stormwater management program for the city.
So the purpose of that ordinance is to grant the city the authority to exercise management and general regulation over stormwater. It follows the state law process to grant that authority. This is not something the city has to do, but it is something that would create the standards that you were wanting people to follow. It applies to new construction. The only change since the first reading is a section that says that we will recover CEC's fees
Good.
when we're having them reviewed, right? And it'll be highlighted in your packet.
Okay. Wasn't a lot of discussion about this. There wasn't about an item coming up in a minute, but this one went right through.
Well, that's something we needed anyway.
Yes.
Absolutely, particularly for the new build.
New build.
Any questions?
No, sir.
Monthly report from mayor. I'll have a little something, but
Like, can you?
Me?
Never mind.
Okay.
Because I'll probably be saying something that's not related to that. That's okay.
monthly financial budget report, we'll get to that in a minute, won't we?
Yeah, we'll just discuss everything during budget amendment.
All right. Monthly report from city manager.
I have one Tuesday night unless you any information you need now.
Anything y'all need, Philip? Wastewater liaison, Mount Pleasant Gas.
The reports will be Tuesday night.
New business ordinance 2026-1141, zoning amendment.
So the purpose of this ordinance is to repeal and replace the current zoning ordinance. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission last month, and then again this month. They sent it back for more study in April, and then this month they made a recommendation for y'all to move forward. It is an overhaul, but because there's a lot of little changes throughout the document, but the main changes will be highlighted in there, and I just want to read the kind of the list. So it added a new section 4.7, which is related to annexation. That section just makes it compliant with state law. It also outlines what the findings of facts will need to be made when you're doing an annexation, and it defines the process. There was a lot of discussion on where the process should start, but the Planning Commission's recommendation is that it starts with the Planning Commission and not this commission. They added a new section 6.5 related to new residential district for large lot residential and agriculture. They added a new section 8.5 related to creating a PUD, which is a planned unit development overlay district. They're amending section 6.1 R1 low density residential to allow accessory dwelling units as permitted uses in the R1 zone. Amending section 6.3 R3 high density residential by amending the description of R3 to better reflect the city's description for the zoning district. There was also a lot of discussion on that item. Ms. Johnson's on the Planning Commission, and she can explain that to y'all here in a minute. They are recommending amending section 7.4 IL light industrial by removing certain permitted uses from this district so that this district has less intense uses and differentiates more from heavy industrial. We are amending reference corrections, including internal section references, as well as grammar and phrasing, and improving clarity to minimize misinterpretation, updating the numbering throughout the document, adding some definitions to make it more clear, and removing certain sections related to irrigation and landscaping and screening. Like I said, the entire zoning ordinance will be in your packet. The substantive changes are highlighted. Not every grammar change is highlighted, but the big sections that have been modified are going to be highlighted when you see it. But and R3 was the other thing that the planning commission had us discuss further. If you want to explain that to them.
Do you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, please.
So we were presented with three options, and the one that we went with is principle of R3 district may also be applied to other suitable areas where there is sufficient access to commercial services, transportation networks, and infrastructure to support higher density living. So that's the one that we recommended that we go with.
That's an add-on. That's not the only
Yeah.
thing that's
Right.
in there.
But that's the main,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. Any questions on this, Mike?
Mayor, I think right there's where I need to be. I guess with what all is going on right now, I guess with the dynamite, if we look back and put something
Blasting,
blasting.
we cannot regulate blasting. There's a state law
No,
that,
no,
Yeah.
hold up.
Okay.
I think we can. Yes, we can.
there's a state law that
Have
says
you-
we cannot.
No. Check this out, if you don't mind, Corey. Mine Safety Health Administration. Check into that for blasting.
I already did. We can't do it
Why can we not do it?
because there's a state law that specifically says that municipalities cannot regulate blasting. I can
We're
forward.
not regulating it. They are.
The state is.
This is different from what I gather. This is different. But we need some kind of protection. And the reason I'm saying this is because those people that are blasting dynamite, whatever you want to call it, they are getting that rock. They are mining that rock to resell it. And I think that falls under a different category. If you don't mind, can you check into that?
Sure. Tell me again what you're citing.
It's Mine Safety and Health Administration. It's not the state. They'll come in and they'll check the pollution and everything. And it's just something good to have. Because I mean, right now, you know, our citizens have no kind of protection. I mean, I realize they put things out there, but we need to look at something, you know, to protect the homeowners.
Okay, what I was
I mean, I realize you cannot stop blasting. I do know that. But there's somebody that comes in and they make sure everything is correct. Just because if they wouldn't selling the rock or something like that, I think it may be a little bit different, but they are actually mining rock
and where is this? Which
right over here.
okay. What I was referring to, and I'd looked at it before when y'all asked about the blasting at TSC, was the Tennessee Blasting Standards Act of 1975. And that one specifically, it says this chapter is intended to and shall preempt and supersede all existing and future county, town, city, or municipal ordinances or regulations respecting the subject of this chapter. So that's what I was.
There are places that does this right here.
Okay, I will look at it.
And are there any other options besides blasting to remove the rock?
Yes.
Yeah, there is, but
There
what I,
is.
and or you can look at that too, but we cannot regulate that, period. There are other options, but we can't tell them that's what they have to do. And again, Corey can verify that.
But I think if you'll check into that, what I just said, I think you'll find something there that we might be able to.
Okay.
To help people out.
I'll look at it.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Anything
Corey,
else?
I just like to say, I know we can't do anything about the blasting, it's state regulated. But I know at one time, I think I'm right, Philip, that they would send out a text or something to say when they're gonna blast, or is something like that we could put in there? No?
If I think all of that is in this Tennessee Blasting Standards Act. Like again, because it's a state law that preempts y'all from doing anything, we
Right.
can't add, subtract,
Can't
take
take
away
it,
from that.
okay.
But yeah, I'm happy to look in and see what the regulations are. But what we would do is kind of what we've done with other like states type oversight is we just send it on and kind of back to citizens and say this thing is happening in our town, it's affecting people. Look at it. That's kind of what the city's role can be. Again, I'll look into the Mining Safety Administration,
Because
but
I do know, you cannot stop blasting,
Mm-mm.
but you can go this route, and I think it's more under control than what it is right now.
I'll look at it and get back to y'all. I'll send you an email if I find something about it.
Thank you, Corey. Anybody else? All righty. Ordinance 2026-1142, stormwater first reading, and ordinance establishing a stormwater utility for the city of Mount Pleasant. Corey?
All right, so the purpose of this ordinance is to create a stormwater utility within the incorporated city limits of Mount Pleasant. You all discussed this in the April meeting and deferred it to give staff, CEC, and me a chance to look at the fees, basically. We have done that, and we have summarized the comments and concerns and different options that we wanted to present to y'all today so that you can, consider it and give us some guidance. So at the last meeting and over individual meetings with the commissioners since the last meeting, we have heard and understood these concerns. That we feel that it would be fairer if all residential properties paid the same fee. It seems unfair for non-residential properties to pay the bulk of the fees. Large lots with more than average impervious surfaces actually help stormwater management. Non-residential properties often have their own stormwater management improvements on site. Rented and leased properties create unique administrative problems, and some residential properties property owners might be unable to pay for various reasons. So we analyzed these concerns and incorporated them into 3 different proposed options for y'all to think about. So the first option is the stormwater utility fee. That's what we talked about last time. That's what started this conversation. So a stormwater user's fee is a charge for the service of preventing degradation and pollution of public waters. It's a fee for putting the system in place, basically. And it needs to relate to that property owner's proportional contribution to stormwater runoff. This is a fee, not a tax. So that's important because a fee is a charge for a particular service that just happens to be charged by the government, where a tax is imposed for like general boosting of revenue. Although a service charge may possess, similar points as a tax, it's very different and governed by different principles. So that's important for our conversation on fairness. A service charge is imposed on the theory that the portion of the community which is required to pay it receives some special benefits as a result of the improvements made by the charge. A charge does not become a tax just because it benefits everybody. So this would be a stormwater fee. Stormwater fees are authorized by statute, and TCA 68-221-1107 authorizes municipalities to construct, operate, or maintain stormwater or flood control facilities to establish a gradual stormwater user's fee. The statute requires that a certain methodology be used in determining that fee that's going to be paid. So when we were coming up with what fee to recommend, we had to use these principles that are set out in the statute. So the first one is that the fees have to be reasonable in their amount. Next, they have to be used exclusively by the municipality for stormwater purposes. That means if you bring in money for a stormwater fee, you only use that money for stormwater. No, you can't use it, you can't borrow it or, lend it out to somebody else. It has to be based on the actual or estimated use of the stormwater and or flood control facilities that are provided in the municipality. And each user or class of users shall only be required to pay their proportional share of those, of that impact. So when you are trying to determine what each property or each user's proportionate share is, the statute actually sets forth different things that you take into consideration. The first one is the amount of impervious area. The second one is water quality or user's stormwater runoff. And the third one is the volume or rate of stormwater runoff. So we use the first one, which is impervious surface, to be our basis for determining how each property contributes to the stormwater problem and solution, okay? That statute also sets forth exemptions, and they're kind of complicated, but the only one that really will matter to y'all is agriculture that's used for agriculture as defined in the statute. There are no other exemptions that are listed or allowed related to churches, nonprofits, or like we did talk last time about like senior citizens, for instance. They're like giving tax breaks. Because it's not a tax, we cannot give other exemptions for that, for if it's a stormwater fee, okay? And so with fairness and equity and stormwater fees, which is what y'all are concerned about, when evaluating the fairness and equity in setting these fees, you should evaluate whether the fee for each class is based on the actual or estimated use of the stormwater. What we came back with is a base rate for a detached single-family residential property of $3.50 across the board per month. So did away with the tiers and just said $3.50 for every residential property. The fee for other developed property that's not residential is impervious square footage times the ERU, which is the equivalent residential unit. We also reclassified several properties from the non-residential to residential. So that's a big change that we made to make sure it was going to be actually fair, and that changed our numbers substantially. Also, properties that would meet the statutory exemptions would be exempt. Rather than restating the state law, we just cited it in there. And then also, like I said before, nobody else is exempted. Our rationale for the reason why this is equitable is that the stormwater fee statute allows cities to have different classes of users. So we put residential users all in one category. It's similar to what we do in water or sewer or trash or our other like utility type services. And we use the impervious surface area of the properties as the basis for setting those fees. And this is specifically identified in law as a way that you can decide the proportional share. And this is where I need JJ to say this correctly, but basically we took the average amount of impervious surface on residential properties, right? And that average is 5,781 square feet. And we use that as the multiplier for non-impervious surface on, or for impervious surface on non-residential properties. And there's a table in there, and it's hard to explain, but that's why we feel like it's equitable or fair, because we're using the impervious surface as the basis for determining the fee. An impact of this that we don't love is that this puts a really heavy burden on non-residential, and it doesn't really bring in that much money. So, and the only way to increase the amount of money, if we increase the residential amount, it would also, but because we would increase the multiplier, we would increase all of the non-residential as well. So we've kind of struggled with that, going back and forth. But also, if you do like that, they'll, non-residential does contribute more to the stormwater problems. They also are more likely to have controls on their property, which would qualify them to be able to go through our manual to try to get reductions in that. So a lot, but that's kind of we took what y'all, the input that you gave us last time, and that's kind of what we've come up with. Yes, sir.
There's no doubt the city needs this.
Mm-hmm.
No question about that. But if we set this up, this is only set up for stormwater. And that's not for paving streets, unless, I guess, the stormwater is involved in it. And it has, and I'm gonna give you, we've done it 3 times, and it had to come out of our general fund. That's where we start getting into trouble, because we don't have nothing set back. And it's been brought up before, Locust Street, it's $220,000, to replace that culvert. That was in 2021. Then we also had to replace a culvert out at Redwood Circle. That was $173,000. Just from those 2 right there. That's not doing, I guess, the modeling cost and all of that. But I mean, that's a lot of money that has to come out of the general fund. That takes away from other things that we need. I don't know what is the best route to go, but it is.
So that, I think, probably is a great segue for option 2, right? So a fee would be a way to set aside, to bring in money specific for this problem to help solve this problem. So that would be the fee that we just talked about. The other option 2 is a tax increase that would be in the general fund, and that would be used for this money. Yes, sir,
And
yes.
what would the tax fee be? It'd be like 2%, 3%, 4%? How would that go?
So we'll get into that, into the budget, and I'll tell a little bit about it now. Staff is not recommending the stormwater utility. I'm glad we went through this process of study. The burden is basically put on the 300 and something ER or non-residentials. Like Corey said, every time you raise that, you're putting more of that on that factor. So our proposal, again, you guys, utility, property tax, or nothing at all, right? That's an option as well, but dedicating or restricting 15 cents, and that 15 cents is worth roughly
380 something a year.
387 a
Tax
year.
revenue. And I've got all that pulled up when we start going into
So-
budget, because if we look at it through the budget process, we have that option as well. So we'll talk about all of it today.
Oh, okay, so it's not like, let's just say, for instance, I'll just give my property rate, like right now, $1,500 a year is what I pay. It's not based off 3% of that $1,500.
No, it's property tax. It'll be a
Yes.
tax increase.
Yes, I know that, but what would I actually be paying on property taxes? I'm talking about, would I end up paying $45 versus $350?
I don't know.
See, that's why I can't,
So look at it as a whole.
until we know exactly what each resident is gonna pay, I can't,
Okay.
I can't, I just can't do it.
I think you would
I have to
know
be-
how you would be able to get that information though, because what we're proposing is when you set the tax rate this year, that you would allocate 15 cents or 10 cents or 5 cents or 2 cents or whatever it is y'all decided to do. If you didn't do a utility route, to like, this is the amount we're going to earmark, these however many cents for each property tax, we're going to earmark that for this stormwater.
YouTube.
So is it gonna be equal each residential?
It's just
It's gonna be on your property
Property
value,
tax.
because
That's what I'm
taxes are on it. So it
That's
depends
what
on
I'm
how much
saying. So
everybody's
you're not-
property is valued at.
You can't tell the citizens, right now, what it's gonna be, because we don't know.
$387,000.
I know,
Um,
but I'm talking about individual.
When you set your tax rate, you
I'm
can.
saying, well, that's what I'm
Right.
saying.
That's right. We'll set the
Right
tax
now, we had it set for $3.50.
Right,
Okay,
as a fee.
yes, but if you go the tax rate, it may be $40.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Correct.
and that's why the citizens need to know. We do not need to throw it on the citizens without us knowing first.
Till everybody's property tax values are, or reappraisal values are out, and of course, that's at the state level and this county level, we don't have those values. And you and I talked
No.
earlier, the
No, we
values on the
don't.
website are still the 2022 values, but
Correct.
I think everybody, me personally, I live in the city limits of Mount Pleasant. I can estimate my own by
Yeah.
going on the state's website and calculating it.
Yes,
And yes, depending on what you all set the tax rate at, everybody would be able to kind of calculate their own. We don't supply any documentation on what somebody's taxes are going to be in-house. Everything for our taxes are done at the county and the state level. The only thing we control through this commission is the rate. And then I will give you all the numbers on we do have reappraisal numbers, but I only receive totals from the county and the state.
that's what I'm saying. So I cannot honestly tell our citizens, our tax rate, our tax rate right now is $1.69. So let's just say we go down to $1.50, $1.54, whatever. Hey, we're getting a break. Okay, then after you find out a little bit later on, it's what I was saying earlier. Instead of giving $3.50 a month, you may be giving $40 a month. And that's, I want to be honest. I want to be transparent with the citizens first.
Well,
We need this. We need this.
I'll say I'm the most transparent you'll come across.
Oh,
So let me
no,
finish
Philip,
that.
no,
Let me
Philip.
finish that
No,
thought
I'm not
of why
disagreeing
we're
with that.
not recommending the utility is because if you break it down after we've pulled all the agricultural out, and there's a big fee in there. It's about $300,000 a year. $100,000 for an employee, benefits and all, right? The accounting, the billing, operations is about $100,000. Then we're putting $100 in capital. We're not getting anywhere.
Nowhere.
You go to the general fund, and I get what you're saying, and you're bringing in 386. We're not hiring an employee because it's on the tax roll. We're doing the design, and then we're putting more capital back as we dedicate the 15 cents or whatever you choose to dedicate. That'll be dedicated every year. So that's the options there, or do nothing too,
Or a hybrid.
We need
or
to-
hybrid.
Yeah, we do need to do something. But if we're thinking about doing, based on the property or whatever, I would rather wait until Bobby sends out the letter to everybody. That way you'll know what the value of your house. If you go back and look, they'll go up usually from $60,000 to $80,000 every 4 years.
And this is, and I feel like we've got to jump ahead to come back to this part.
Right.
Yeah, I think so. We need to just go through the budget
Yeah,
first.
but this is,
And I'll message
But,
Bobby
but
to
this
find out when
doesn't,
we're
this
gonna
doesn't need to be added to the budget until we know.
and that means it will be next year's budget. There's no way to do it this year.
Right, if we don't pass this or
If you
do
don't pass a
something on
tax,
Tuesday night. I mean.
taxes can only be passed during the budget season. So if you
Correct.
don't pass them this
You
year,
could-
then
you
if you
could-
want to look at taxes,
You
whatever
could,
you
you
all
could do
decide.
amendments. I mean, come August, September,
But
when
if
Bobby
you did-
sets it out, you could do amendments. We do it all the time.
Not to the tax rate.
But if you never
Yeah.
brought the revenue in through the tax rate, there would be no, unless you pull from general
Yeah.
funds fund balance, you won't have anywhere to pull from.
I just can't do it.
I've
can't.
messaged Bobby to find out when the notices go out. I'm not really
Yeah.
sure when the notices go out.
And
I
guys,
think
don't
he told
misunderstand.
us tomorrow, didn't he?
Yeah. And don't misunderstand. I hate for this to pass. And this right here would create whether I vote for the budget or not. And I don't want to do that.
And I think what Philip is saying, he's not recommending this, he's just discussing this. I think once we get into the budget, we can decide more of this. I think we need to do the budget.
No, you don't understand. The budget will be passed before we ever know what the numbers are.
I don't know that for sure. I'm asking the reappraisal office right now if he reads my message and responds to me. I'm not sure when they mail the notices out. We have received our reappraisal. That's how I know what our certified tax rate is. But I receive totals for the whole city. I don't get individual property values.
correct.
Those are mailed to the residents, of course.
I get that.
A tax increase will definitely be more than the fee.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
$3.50 a month accounts to times 12. So it is definitely going to be, everybody pays more than
I guess what I'm saying is that you guys,
$42, yeah.
And Philip, I know, we
agree.
need this, but I
You
just
choose
like
what
to know.
route you want to go. I'm
Right.
just saying, do we want to fix it or not? Do we want to fix it? If you want to fix it,
Yes.
give me the ability to fix it and we'll go fix it.
That's right.
But I don't know what the numbers are yet.
But we need to get to the budget because
Right.
if we're not going, and
Y'all
we're
go
not
ahead,
going,
Bill.
and we're not going to
Y'all
pass.
go ahead. 'cause I
Okay,
know
just a
where I'm
moment,
at.
Mike. Everybody
No.
else has had their chance. I get mine.
Well, you get it.
We're not gonna pass a budget tonight. It has to go through two
It's a
readings.
study
Yes,
session.
yes.
So
yes,
we've
I know
got,
that.
we've got up until the June
June.
meeting, the official city commission meeting, to set that budget. So I think for everybody's purposes this evening, we need to move along to the budget, let Philip and Schiffer say what they would like to say about doing this through the taxes versus having a regular fee. And I've sat down with them at length about this. And when you start taking out the salaries and the expenses and everything else that are related to this, that $3.50 is gonna wind up to almost nothing at the end of the year.
Right.
I'm not disagreeing, Bill. I'm not disagreeing.
So,
But
I
I'm
just
not
think
voting for
we-
no budget until I know exactly what. the
and we got
citizens are
plenty of
paying
time to
for.
do that. We, as of right now, we got about 35 or 40 days.
And
Right.
I'm gonna know until then.
Okay. All right, any other comments on the stormwater? All right. Ordinance 2026-1144, a budget amendment, first reading. Shipra?
So this is just amending our budget that we are currently in. We do a year-end budget amendment to bring all of our line items that are governmental funds only, not the utilities. I sometimes do utilities, sometimes I don't. You're not required to amend the utilities like we are required to amend governmental funds because they are funded by taxes. The Fern expenses was a highlight that I thought I needed to mention to you all because that was an unbudgeted item when we got hit by the storms. I did not have to take any money from fund balances. We had enough. Everybody had enough in their operating budgets where we could absorb that since it was about 30-some thousand across city. And we are also in the process of going through applying for reimbursements through FEMA. We're in the process of that right now. And then $200,000. Now this was the big one that I wanted to mention to you all. We have been through delays from the state with reimbursement with the downtown project. We are kind of in the same boat at the Parks Department now because even though we filled out necessary paperwork that the state asked us to, that they would reimburse us before we had to pay the contractor. Anyways, we were behind 3 months of invoices to the contractor, and last month we had to transfer $200,000. We usually budget $265 for the parks, but I had to go ahead and transfer and pay the contractor, otherwise he was going to pull out of the project. There was no way we could go back and bid that project out again when it's halfway through. So $200,000 was transferred from the general fund to the parks. Like I said, we usually transfer $265. This year's budget, we ended up doing $465. This was an emergency move. Like I said, we had to do to pay the contractor. The state has since then reimbursed us, but the funds are just sitting in the Parks Department's fund balance now. So it just went from one tax receiving fund to where the transfer is already made, and I've amended the budget. But the funds are just going to sit in the Parks Department fund balance to help us get through year end. Just so if we have any more cash flow issues, we can pay the contractor and the work can keep moving. It's not a borrowing because there is already a transfer that is happening to the Parks Fund from the general fund already funds the Parks Fund. So it's just trying to balance those both accounts together.
And that's directly related.
Correct. That is 100% to pay the contractor with the community center, so that way he would continue the work. And I mean, when they called, I mean, we agreed with them. We were like, we're trying to get the state to reimburse us, and I believe South Central ended up making some phone calls, and they were able to get a reimbursement. But we were behind 3 months, and it was about $500,000, and so any contractor would probably have a problem with that. So, that's all I have on the amendment. We can move to the budget if you all are ready.
We're ready.
All right. Are we ready to roll into that? Any questions on the amendments?
No.
All right, ordinance 2026-1145, budget presentation for 26-27 tax rate.
Philip, interrupt me where you need me to stop, okay? Because I may just start going and you'll be
You
like,
do a fine job,
okay.
but I will.
Day before yesterday, towards the end of the day, we received our certified tax rates from the county. The rate is 1.2426. We are not allowed to round it. You have to keep it the way they turn it into us. I just got a message back from Bobby. He said they are mailing our notices out tomorrow. So everybody should get their reappraisal notices in the mail soon. The next, and I've given everybody has a copy of this on your tables, and then I've got it pulled up over here for everybody to see. I have a certified tax rate box and I have an approved tax rate box because we have not set our budget yet. So just for notes. Nonprofit, of course, that's under y'all, what you all approve. Our previous rate was 1.69, just for reference. So we have gone down quite a bit. Nonprofits, during our individual budget reviews that I had with y'all, I asked for y'all's recommendations on all the nonprofit requests that we get. Animal shelter, I didn't get a response that was uniform, so they have asked for $20,000. Last year they asked for 17 and we funded 13. So that is one item that for Tuesday's meeting, if I can get some recommendations from y'all, like what you all would agree to put in there, or I can put what they requested in there. And I knew nobody agreed to 20, so or I think maybe one person agreed to 20. So yeah, I think maybe one or two people agreed. I just didn't have a uniform response from all of you, so I just need to discuss it with you all publicly because we need to come up with a number that we want to put in there. What you all want as a commission to give them. Their request is $20,000.
Mayor, since I won't be here Tuesday, can I say something about that?
Sure.
Why? I just know that they do a tremendous work. That shelter is packed all the time. They are coming here and picking up animals and taking care of them. I'm on my third rescue now, and my husband found another one. I'm not allowing, but they really do a great job, and they do a great job of publicizing the animals that they have to try to get them rehoused, rehomed, and it's not a fun job. It's really rough. It's also a place where we have a lot of people that live here that volunteer. I know 3 people myself that are ladies that are retired that volunteer there. So it's also a place where people can give back to the community. It's not just about the dogs and the cats. And so I just feel like I went the full way because nobody else did, but I just feel like it's a very worthy cause that we need to be supporting. And that's why I wanted.
My opinion of it was we are such a small percentage of their budget. I mean, we're less than 10% of what they pick up.
And I did send the stats out too. I think in one or two of the budget meetings,
Yeah,
it came up how many calls do it take for us, and she sent me that documentation.
and I
so
was
sent
looking
it to you
for it
all.
in here and I just can't, but it's a very, for the county as a whole, the city of Mount Pleasant is like some months 2 or 3 dogs and 3 or 4 cats.
Right.
Mhm.
And that's it. And I'm not disagreeing. I think they do a wonderful job. But we went up 2,000 last year, I think. We went from 11 to 13, and my
Yeah,
recommendation
I
would be
think
go
that-
from
from
13
10
to
to
15.
13 or something. Yeah.
Mine too big. I'm gonna
15.
go right in the middle.
I did put 15 down for mine. That is what I suggest we give them. I can't see giving them 20,000 when we're like the smallest. I recommend giving them 15,000. That's what I put on my paper. That's about all I can. That's what I agree on.
Got 3 15s, and I've
I'll
got
go
120. Mr. Davis.
All I can say is, since they got involved in Mount Pleasant, there has not been citizens complaining
Right.
because they come and get the dogs
Yeah.
or cats or whatever, For the most part, we don't have to, I'm sure there's probably times when something comes up, that we may have to. But for the most part,
Would you like to hear from Chief Hay briefly? He
Yeah.
could probably have more.
He probably got more
He
information.
may not
than
have
that.
any. Give me that look.
We don't recommend that the citizens call them because they have better luck responding when they call. So, but we've had instances where we've had to threaten the catcher to come down because he had something else to do before. Because they expect us to take care of it, and we don't do dogs.
Are you getting a lot of animal calls though?
I'm not
that's what
really
I'm
getting a whole lot
saying.
of calls, no. And they don't. I don't think they pick up cats either. So I
No,
think
my
they pick
neighbors
up
do
dogs.
that.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a whole lot of dog calls because we don't deal with them. We're not equipped
Right.
to deal with them.
Right. No,
And
At all.
I just know if you go up there and look at that place, it's an A+ facility.
Yeah, they do
I
they
mean,
do a good
it's
job for the
an
citizens.
A+ facility.
We don't deal with them anymore.
And I think the
We still
amount
get
that-
calls.
yeah.
We still get dog calls, but it's usually this dog has got out, and we'll go over there, and the neighbor will put the dog back up, and it's done. So,
If they weren't there, we'd be in trouble.
And I think they're asking for the increase because they are doing an expansion to their current building. So I think
Right.
that's where they've asked, I think they've asked all the jurisdictions in the
That's,
area.
Thank you, Monty.
that's an organization I don't mind, giving.
So my recommendation is we go with 15,000.
same here.
15, 20,
But
20.
I'm good. 15, it's okay.
I think you've got 3 right now, so I would go with it.
I'm gonna go with
That's the very
15 for
first
right
item on
now.
the budget.
Okay.
That's what I've got.
Okay, Murray Alliance, 25,000, Murray Regional Airport, 5,000, Main Street. It's one more that was a little bit all over the place, so. And they have asked for, they always ask for 25. That's what we've been giving them for years, so.
I'll speak on that since
Okay.
I'm on that board. I recommend giving them 25,000 because we left Main Street so we can publicize the whole Mount Pleasant area, not just the downtown. In order to do that, we need funds to do it, and the city helping is a blessing, with Smelter helping. But if we don't have the money, then I don't see how we can pay our director if we don't get funds. So I just like the fact that we left Main Street and we're able to do the whole Mount Pleasant area. Spotlight it, so I did recommend 25,000.
Murray Alliance has nothing to do with Main Street.
Right,
Just,
right.
I mean, just the ribbon cuttings and stuff, but
Yeah.
that's
That's
just,
it.
they do
I
it
mean,
for
as far
everybody.
as
They don't
money
just do
and
Main
everything.
Streets, yeah, they do all.
let's just, if we didn't have Murray Alliance, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Right.
You're right.
Murray Alliance, to me, they're the ones that goes out and they bring businesses, companies, let's say that, to Murray County, Mount Pleasant. And like I'm saying, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be where we are today. And every time I see them, I appreciate them, for what they do. So I have no problem with it.
So that was the Murray, this is Main Street now. So
This is Main
Oh,
Street.
this is Main.
Yeah,
Street.
Ma-
Oh,
Ma-
that's back
so
up.
Murray
We're
Alliance,
beyond.
so I'm
All right,
only,
when I heard Murray
so the-
Alliance, I just,
so when I
know,
met with
this-
each of you, I give you all a sheet to fill out.
well, let's
And those are
back up.
individual.
I think
Huh?
it was good.
Let's back up then. 'Cause
And then you all give me your input directly to me, and then I tally everybody's input so I can actually present a budget, and I'm not changing budgets. I have to put an ordinance together for Tuesday, but I have to have the
yeah, but
ordinance
this
on to you
here's Murray
tomorrow.
Alliance. This is not
No,
Main
no, we're
Street.
talking
No,
Main
I-
Street.
So
Yeah.
Murray Alliance and Airport, everybody agrees on the same amount. So
Okay.
the 2 items that nobody agreed on was Animal Shelter and Main Street. Like when I got all the feedback from y'all individually, those 2
Okay.
items people didn't agree on,
Okay.
so I'm asking you all,
Okay.
I need you all
just
to come
get
to an
a little
agreement on a
confused 'cause
number.
When she started bringing up Murray Alliance, I thought, well, that's where we're
No,
at.
she was talking about she's on the Main
Okay.
Street board, so. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, so Miss Willie's recommending 25, because obviously she's on the board, so she had recommended 25. I just want opinions from you all so I can come down to a number so I can put an ordinance together tomorrow to have it on our agenda.
I guess our citizens are paying $1,500,000. What has been done on Main Street already. I don't see where the citizens need to pay any more money, for Main Street. I don't understand some of this, and and I realize there's a board and all of that, but when it comes down to these businesses should represent themselves. I mean, Main Street If I went to them and say, hey, will y'all sell my house for me? No, they ain't gonna sell my house. And in Main Street, it isn't what, to me, it's not what it's made out to be. I just think the citizens are wasting their money.
I recommended that we go down.
I agree.
Go
down.
Lord,
That really with the expansion, with them covering on and not just Main Street, what different things?
Well, when you was Main Street, all she could do was the downtown area.
Okay.
She couldn't go out past,
couldn't go past the pizza
Pizza
place,
Place. Now she can go all the way out to,
anywhere in the town, in the
yeah,
city.
anyway, Mount Pleasant, and expose their business. You know, like we have Final Fridays uptown, that's all put by her. We do the touch a truck. So it is things that's happening that these stores get exposed through Main Street. So, but it's up to y'all. I mean, at first it was Main Street and,
Now, what's it called? About Forward Foundation?
yeah.
Is it?
My
Ford
thing,
Foundation.
my
yeah.
thing is that
Thank you.
You will.
got away from Main Street, and I can't disagree with that. It needs to be everybody in the community. But I've been asking some questions of Caroline and some others. And they did this to expand the service area. And I've not seen another person that they picked up to contribute to this in that service area. That was the whole
I think
idea to do that. And I have even offered to carry Caroline to any of these businesses or anything else to go visit with them to try to get the money. And I think the world of Caroline, and I think Caroline's headed in a good direction. But I'm also going to have to lean to what Mike said just a little bit, in that I can tell you a number of the citizens are questioning why right now, the two funders of this program are the City of Mount Pleasant and Smelter Service. Period. Dropped Main Street in order to expand your availability to raise money to support this project. Sorry, I hadn't seen it done.
Montez Witherspoon has got the list of people that's donating. No, that hadn't been put out, but I do know the other businesses are donating, but I don't know the amount.
I just think, and I know we've had it come up in this meeting, my recommendation, we've been at 25, was to go to 20. And let them start picking up some other money from some other, and I'll be happy to go out and visit with them. More than happy to. Because I think it's a good program. I think the Final Fridays, the last two they've had, the weather wasn't the best for them. Kind of caught up. But April is a crapshoot. I hate to use that term, but it is with weather. And, but I think it's a great project. I think Caroline's doing a good job, but I think with what they've done here again, I think they need to find other donors to help alleviate some of this from the city. But if you look at Columbia, look how big business it is. Man.
I didn't want to fund it fully either, and I might even go a little lower for that reason that you stated, Bill. And also, I was part of the downtown group from the first time I first moved here, and we haven't since then had a cohesion of people together. There doesn't seem to be, outside of the committee, any attempt to try to bring people in the community in to help her. I mean, I get asked to do touch truck every year, but that's from my friend asking me to help, and that's it. And there's it doesn't feel like there's a real outreach to the community to try to put some things together. And when I met with Shipra and Philip, they showed me the list of things that had been projected to be done by the group the first part of the year, and most of those things had not happened. And so I just think, in my mind, there's an accountability for the citizens. If we're going to fund this, it needs to be really showing that some things are getting together. I mean, we had a city cleanup that was organized and had a great turnout. We need to be able to do those things if we're paying for it. That was volunteer. So I just feel like maybe a little cut in that and put some little fire under the people and let's get going and get some money raised from these other companies. We got all these other new companies coming in and there's so many opportunities. So
Anybody else?
So I have $20,000 in 2020 and 25, so I'm trying to get a number. Miss Lori? Mr. Davis?
Zero.
Okay.
Feel
Mayor,
like a million
20.
and a half is well more than enough.
The mayor had 20, you had 25, and then
I need 20.
320. So I'm gonna put down 20 for my resolution tomorrow. And of course, any of this, like, I just have to have something together so I can compile a budget number to go in the ordinance in the packet that you all will get tomorrow. If you all decide to change this on Tuesday, then what I bring to you all in June will change. So we still, obviously, this is just me trying to get to a point where I can compile the legal documents that I'm required to compile by the state. Kids Place, everybody agreed on $1,000, and Keep Murray Beautiful, they asked for $750, and they're the new nonprofit that we added to our list this year. The next topic I have on our bullet list is the state shared revenues have reduced. This is something new at the state. This is our beer tax, state sales tax, tax we get to, gas tax for roads, etc. So we have gone down. If you see in 2024, we received 179.93. 25-26, we received 184.54. This year, we were supposed to get 187 and some change, and they took it down to 180. So in my mind, I see that it went down almost $7 and some change, but compared to last year, it went down $8.54. Sorry,
$4.
54 cents. Yeah,
I know we don't have no control over it,
no.
but if you take the gas stations here, you know, let's just say they're at, let's just shoot for $2. I mean, it's a lot higher than that right now. Let's just say $2. But if you go to Columbia, it's always 10 to 15 cents difference. So, you know, when people sees that much difference in gas, you know, I hate it. But, you know, most people are going to bypass and go where it's cheaper.
So this is reduced because the state has changed the way they calculate it, and they said they only have so much amount of money. Not only are most small cities are losing revenue because they have, the bigger cities around us are growing so much that the increases have gone to the bigger cities. And Philip could probably speak on it more. I think he told me that the city managers conference, they had a whole section on this, but the state, the way they did their calculation, they're changing it. They do estimates. And again, like I said, every year the estimate goes up $3 to $4, and we've expected that money. And it's almost making us lose about 50 or 60 grand between state street aid and general fund. Do you want to add?
Sure, it absolutely just makes me mad that
Yeah.
you have growth, you have more people, and the numbers reflect that, and we go down, and their stance is that with the cities that are growing more, we're getting more of the shares, so they've went and up theirs but offset ours because, so that's why it makes no sense, but
Can't do anything about
It
it.
is what it
so you
is.
no longer have to do special censuses or wait to census. They're doing it off building permits, residential building permits, and decimals. And they've got this. I've shown most of you that database website, and you can see it. I mean, it's a pretty good website. So the growth in Tennessee, but it is what it is. So we're actually going to lose about 40,000.
Compared to what we would have gotten this year, we're going to lose 40 in the general fund and about $10,000 in state street aid. So
And then to the gas tax, I was looking for it, and I think I got it. We're basically just it's a set thing, and I'm looking at it here, but I think it's like $13 per person per year. Set, no matter how many gallons you sell, whatever. Based
That's
off
just
the
it. Say,
numbers.
yeah.
oh, yeah.
Sorry, I think that's right.
That one is what it is. I hate to say that, but we can't control it.
I'm sorry, it's $36. Sorry,
Okay,
36 gas and motor fuel
Yeah,
taxes
just 36.
per person of shared revenue.
So this year that's gone down to 35.15. It was 36 in this year. Next year is 35.15.
So I was right.
So just wanted to share that because that's something that affects our general fund that already runs really tight. This year's budget. So this is just the highlights that I felt like we need to go over and kind of see where the priorities lie still. $1 mid-year increase based on the comp plan. I think Philip has discussed this with y'all multiple times during public meetings, that instead of doing one raise a year, maybe try to have something every 6 months to help retain the positions that are high turnover, because not a lot of people in those positions are focused on probably benefits and retirement, which are also great at the city, but they're more looking at a step plan, and I'll let you put that.
We've talked about this at length, even in our strategic planning session. Basically, what we've realized between 2 and 5 years, we're losing those employees to other people for 50 cents a dollar, something up the road. So looking at, as long as budget allows, the cost of living, like we did back in the spring, and then also mid-year, how do we get that employee to top out in their position? Now, that's not every position, because some of them are credentialing, certifications, those kind of things, but mainly some of those utility employees that are really good, that are stuck on $18, $19 an hour. And one of the things we always said, you go get your credentials or get your license, and we'll give you, well, they're in a hose every day, and they go to classes, and then the only way they get a raise is if they pass that test. So one of the things I want to do is, as long as the budget allows, cost of living, step raises, and then if you pass that test, we'll give you another raise to keep you, because the job market's pretty hard, and we've lost several utility employees because of that. So that's what's in this year's budget. We've already did the 3%. And mid-year, we'll look at that through evaluation and add that.
This does not include administrative staff, so anybody like that's already kind of in the admin type position, leadership positions isn't.
I'm looking
It's
basically
mostly
from
people that are in those positions that are high turnover.
mid-level supervision and down. That's kind of what I'm looking at.
So that is already built. So these are all items that are built into the budget already. So that's why, as we go through, if there's something that you want to discuss, take out, remove, add, let me know. Regular raises that we usually do in the spring, we budget an estimate for the insurance increase. If our insurance comes in under that, we use the remainder of that money to fund raises. So this is that's already in the budget as well, to give employees raises. But again, that's built when we get our insurance rates. We are currently working with our broker. So hopefully by June, before the June meeting, we'll have that number, or even by Tuesday, we may be able to provide you with what our percentage increase is, and that'll determine what our spring raise would look like for employees.
Right now, we budget 15%. That's what we usually do every year.
Correct. That's what we budget in our insurance, is 15%. If he comes under that, then we use the difference, parts of the difference, doing some calculations based on how much the raise and benefits would be to give another raise in the spring. So that would kind of put us on like a 6-month type rotation, or just employees to get something every so many months. I think our biggest lapse would be from now to December, because we just did our spring raises this last month. So this would be probably our biggest lapse, but at least if the budget gets approved and all that, they'll see that they're going to get something in December or first week of January. Over the last 3 years, we've had a total of 26% increase in our insurance cost. That's not all in 1 year, just last 3 years, not including right now, not included in the budget we're looking at. And we cover 92% of that insurance cost. Our most high plan obviously is family only plan, family coverage, and our employees pay $110 a paycheck, which is unheard of. So just saying, like, while we trying to pay people well, we do try to be very competitive with our insurance, and the insurance plan is actually pretty good as well. It's not a cheap plan, it's a good plan. But like I said, we were looking at some numbers, and we thought that would be a good statistic for you all to know that we cover 92% of the medical coverage, 100% of the dental and vision. So employees don't pay anything for dental and vision. Okay, so this year, the next, do you all have any questions? No questions. Okay. I want y'all to stay away. I'm getting some looks. I'm like, should I stop? Okay, sanitation.
Are you saying every year the insurance increases, like?
So what she's telling you, that's a 3 year period.
Over last 3 years.
What's
Yeah.
About 8%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what normally we budget 15%, and it comes in anywhere from 7 to 10%. It just depends.
Yeah.
What the rate comes back.
And I don't know anybody that's not fighting that.
And we are, like I said, we're working with the broker for this budget year that I'm presenting to you all. Again, we budgeted the 15%. We leave the 15% in the budget because, again, like I said, the increase plus us trying to give raises, that's usually our line item, that if we do get a lower increase, we have money in the budget to pull and pay people a raise when y'all want to vote for a raise in the spring months. The sanitation fund is running in a deficit. It started running in a deficit this year. Of course, a very small fund with barely any fund balance. I think our fund balance is like 300,000 in that fund total, 320 something. We had major repairs through the arm truck, and those repairs alone have made that where the fund may close in the green, but next year we're really going to be in the hole. So that is one fund that right now in the budget I have it showing in the red. That's going to go to the comptroller. I need guidance. I can put revenue in there to show the comptroller's office and put notes that the commission's already looking at a rate increase. Or we can submit a negative budget for 1 year, not get in trouble, but when we reach the second year, we'll get a notice. So that's something that I wanted to put out there, because I know we've discussed the sanitation fund a few times, but I mean, the fund usually runs 20,000, maybe 30,000 surplus. Last year, we closed the books with $36,000. This year, the arm truck repairs were $45,000 just to repair that arm truck, because I think the arm just broke off the truck. So just saying one equipment break can pretty much ruin that fund. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
This here is one of those where I think some of the money from a nonprofit could go to something like this right here. This right here is something that this right here is something that is really needed. Who's to say tomorrow the motor doesn't go out on the truck? And here we are sitting, you know, and we got to make sure that we have enough money in there to take care of this stuff.
And this is a utility fund, so it has to be standalone.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying,
But I can take
I'm
that.
just saying, you're taking away money from nonprofits,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying.
Okay.
That could go for something like this right here. Use it for something that's good. But this right here it's what we're paying right now, $21 a month.
Residential is $21 a month. Yes.
And I don't know what it needs to go up to, but I just know, you can be in the red right quick.
So we all talked about this when we did our one-on-ones. So there's a couple of train of thoughts here. You're okay. You don't have to do nothing with that, to be honest. Because we don't spend every dollar again, we'll probably be in the green. But in 2 years, it's in our plan to replace the truck, right? Pay cash for it or borrow the money, it's the same difference. We'll pay interest. Do you raise rates? Do you not raise rates? We're watching it closely, and we did watch it closely last year. So it's kind of whatever direction you want to go with that. I would tend to agree with Shifra that you balance the budget and then come back mid-year and do it like we did with gas. But again, we're okay.
Or
With it,
or
but
even
we
if
still got to replace that equipment. So pay cash or borrow the money. Just
or
cost
even
the
if
money.
I submitted with a negative amount,
Mm.
they would probably want to know that we are headed in that direction. Like I usually have to put notes with, if something looks crazy on the budget document, I have to add notes to my budget document. I can add a note and we can go that direction and look at it.
But we still we'll close the books in the green this year.
We will close the books hopefully in the green this year, but it's gonna be very tight.
Very tough.
Very tight.
And I hate to bring this up again. You go back to stormwater, you got to say it now. But this right here, we don't have to say it right now. We can come back later on and raise the rates.
It's a utility.
All right, go ahead.
I know.
Go ahead.
As utilities, you can, as a utility board, you can do an ordinance on rates, change rates, do 2 readings, do public meetings. You can do that. Tax rate, state law, you can only adjust it once a year.
Once a year.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody gets Shifra what they think over the next few days, please.
Just want opinions. And like I said, I can submit a negative budget and but I just want you all to be aware that we need to look at something, and I can submit the budget with a negative balance if that is what the commission would want. I just need to put notes that we are moving in the direction of looking at it, because we've kind of done this with gas before. We can put notes, we can let them know. Yes, sir.
Everybody just
Philip,
please get
Philip, how
Shifra.
much do you think it needs to go up?
I don't think it's we're not at the point where you're looking at a major increase.
I know that, but are you saying 22, 21.50, 23?
Yeah, in that area. It's not $5, it's not $6. It's probably a small incremental increase at this point. you had a good point one time that maybe we should look at that type of fund and small increase.
Like 2% increases when you had
That's
mentioned that.
not a bad plan, because we're right there on the line where it's gonna have to be increased,
Well-
but you don't have to be now, but yes,
Right.
it's not where we're having to say, you gotta do $5 a can.
Well,
No, we're not there.
The
well, we-
deficit
we
I'm
can do
estimating is
20 we could-
15,000.
you could do 22 right now and be good, all right?
I can
Go
run
from
those numbers
21
for
to
you.
22.
I can run those numbers for you.
We can start,
Schiffer,
yeah.
if you would run those numbers
We'll
for
run
us.
some numbers and bring them back Tuesday as well. The part that gets the residential is easy to calculate. The part that gets complicated a little bit is the commercial because it's charged by number of runs.
We'll apply the same.
So
standard
we'll
there.
apply the same concept to them and get some numbers back for Tuesday.
Parks Director? I'm
I
gonna
will
try to
let-
keep you moving.
Yes, I will let Philip cover the full-time parks director.
So I sent you guys an email. This is a request of mine. I think we had an incident that does not sit well with me. I can do this job all day long, but I cannot handle someone going to a park and falling through a bleacher. Now, I'm not as emotional I was the last 2 days, so that's really gotten to me. But again, for your consideration, and we can talk more about it.
That is in the current budget document that I have.
That was for
Philip,
130.
Yes, sir.
But Phil, that is not your fault at all, what happened over there. And I'm not so sure, even if you had a parks director, it would have kept it from happening.
No, there was damage on all the bleachers that should have been reported on both sides. So they were damaged, they are damaged till they took them down. So that should have
Well-
been, somebody has to be out there looking out for those things and protecting the citizens and the kids
Well,
especially.
I won't disagree with you there, Pam, and
I mean, we went out there that day and
I
took
would just,
pictures,
I'll
but
just keep my mouth shut.
we definitely need somebody, because what Philip's saying, he can't be the part,
He can't be both.
he can't do everything. He can do a whole lot. He can't do everything. So we need to really look at having a full-time parks director that can do those kinds of things and make sure that all of our different parks are safe, that there are not things that need to be taken care of, they're not happening, and that's their job.
Well, that's,
So
that's shame on the city if them bleachers is like what you said.
So I
If they,
think
if they were like that, shame on the city. I would say that.
So the only thing I would add to that, this is not from the hip, y'all known, we've been in the planning for that, even the strategic plan, I put a little picture of vacant. It ain't like this to come up last night, it's just
That's
me at this point going, man, I've tried to stretch every dollar we can stretch, but it's time to either fix some things or not, so.
Yeah.
And again,
Has,
you'll-
I'm just one other thing. And you can go back and ask some of the other parks directors if they've ever went around and checked the bleachers. I bet they hit, huh?
They haven't.
No. So that's what I'm saying, unless you have somebody to go around and, so you
And I
have
think-
to have a parks director,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna have to have somebody else go around checking.
No,
it.
that can become part of their job
That's part
description.
of
I
the
mean,
job.
I notice stuff when I'm out walking and I'll call up whoever's in charge of that department and say, hey, there's a lot of water coming out of this hole, or there was a bench out in the park down from the ballpark where it was really dangerous, and I called in about that. So citizens can do that, but also if you have a parks director and you put that in their job description, that's part of their job, is to maintain visual, check that
I'm
stuff.
surprised the citizens that goes to the games haven't noticed it, brought it to somebody for attention.
It hasn't been brought to my attention, I promise you. It has not.
That's what I'm saying.
Mike, I think this is just my opinion, because, I come to the Park and Rec Board. It used to be, the old president or whoever years ago, they maintained the park because we let them get our park free. And in the process, they are to maintain the park. And if they got safety concerns, they are supposed to bring it to us. And if that's not being done, then, maybe that's something we can look at if we get a park director, that somebody can look over that and help us out. But you're right, we shouldn't have bleachers falling. That is, at the end of the day, is our park. And we're responsible. So we got to put something in place. But whoever they're using our park, as presidents or whoever, the board should be helping out looking too.
Here's my opinion of it. We had an accident.
have a learning experience.
Yeah.
We had a learning experience. We are spending over $2 million on a new community center. We need a parks director.
Amen.
Why don't y'all just now doing
Mike,
something? We've
it's
had a-
been
we've had
talked
a-
about for.
But you
if
said
had
we sit
stayed
here
for-
and hasn't done nothing.
If you'd stayed here for the strategic planning meeting, you would have heard this portion of it already.
Amen.
What
And I
about
think-
last year, Mr. White?
It was on there too.
Why didn't
We-
you vote for it?
We didn't have it for.
We had to come
I
up,
pulled
we
it
had,
because we had to do the match.
we had to come
funds
up
for the
with a
grant.
match for the grant, and the match was $220,000, which pretty much was gonna eat all the funds we had in the Parks Department, so.
And I couldn't
not.
stay for the prestigious because me and you, so that ends
Wasn't
there.
me. Total salaries and benefits,
Okay,
please.
so total salaries and benefits, that's just numbers for you all to see in comparison to total budget. How much of each budget is salaries and benefits? How much of it is, and if you look at the general fund, more than 50% of the general fund is salaries and benefits.
Yeah.
Then if you look at sanitation, more than 50% of sanitation is salaries and benefits. Water and sewer and gas, where we're trying to control and do a lot of capital projects, it's not as high. And then, of course, parks, because the grant is in there, it looks that high. Otherwise, majority of the Parks Department is salary and benefits. And the director position is in those amounts. Part-time senior citizens coordinator, that is also in the parks budget this year, because I think you all had, during the fiscal year, you all had mentioned that you would want the city to take over the parks, park
senior
functions, the seniors
Senior,
functions,
yeah.
and so we're gonna have a part-time senior citizens coordinator. That's in the budget, and I think the total cost of that with expenses and supplies and everything for the seniors is about $35,000 in the parks budget this year. Do I have any questions on that one? Just leave it in there. Okay. Capital projects, stormwater, estimating $387,000 if you all want to put it in the budget. Street paving, $485,000. That is something we have been doing. We started doing that last year. This last year, we have paved about $650,000, and even though we did 3 streets, that was about $650,000 in the budget. Next year, we're putting in $485. And the list of streets, we mentioned them during our other meetings, but it's Bluegrass, Locust, Apple Tree, Howard, Hill Street, South Walnut, and Mount Joy is still remaining from this year, so we're gonna go back into that. Fire truck and equipment, that's the USDA debt. That is gonna be on y'all's agenda for approval. The debt obviously is not in the budget, but the payment for that debt, about $100,000, that's in the general fund. Thermal cameras for the fire department, knuckle boom truck, that's a big one. That's between sanitation and utilities, $230,000 truck, but we only have one of those and it's time to replace it. That's the truck that goes around the whole city and picks up all the brush and
Yep.
other stuff. Streets and sanitation service trucks. We have service trucks we budget in every, as much as we can in every utility, because they have to be on a rotation of replacement. Mowers, dumpsters, trash cans, dingo, which is another equipment, small skid looking thing. I don't know. Anyways, that's in the budget. It's $50,000. That's a big amount. Parks capital funds, $50,000. That's something that you all had brought up during strategic plan to fund $50,000 in capital improvements to all parks. So that's something we want to, it's in the budget right now, in the parks budget, something that we want to keep repeating.
And yeah, that's an annual ongoing, 'cause
Yeah.
if we don't get the project done, it's still fund balance, so there's action going on in our parks every year, constantly.
We need that.
Yep.
Community going.
Water meters, we are actually finishing up residential water meters. All the industrial water meters are already changed out this budget year. We have $50,000 in the water fund for meters, but those are fire meters for big industries that they need to replace. It's not the same kind of meters, but they need
Actually,
to do
they'll
those.
be actually putting in new meters on fire lines. We're tired of wondering if there's theft out there. So actually doing the fire lines, putting meters on them. Actually recouping some of these like pump tests. Right now, there's no meters on them. So we've started a lot of proactive things like putting locks on our hydrants. Fire departments know about it. Locks on our hydrants and putting meters on fire lines, because we're at 40% loss, and that's not acceptable to me either.
No.
So
We are starting to change out a lot of gas meters. So that's something now that we've kind of been focusing on water and sewer a lot in the last couple of years. Oh, I didn't realize that went away. Been on my monthly report. There we go. Okay. Sorry. gas meters, completion of the community, the last bottom section here is all our capital projects that are intermingled with grants. $825,000 approximately remaining, hopefully in the next budget year, for the community center, $500,000 for the water plant generator. Most of that is grant through USDA. I think 431,000 of that is grant, so it's not a lot out of pocket. Community center was a 20% match. CDBG, I can't remember the exact match amount, but it's in the budget for 483,000. It's also an ongoing project, and infrastructure planning grant water, it's finishing up as well. So that is everything. So that's a total of $3,723,000 in capital projects in this year's budget.
All right, Shifter, you've got some numbers, if you don't mind to get to us, if you could get those to us maybe by
I
Monday
will-
morning.
I will get you all the spreadsheets and everything for the budget document tomorrow with the ordinance.
Okay.
And then we'll have some sanitation numbers for you all on Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Resolution 2026-21, a pre-treatment and supporting documentation, first reading. Y'all looking at each other?
No, I got it. So, she's gonna have it, she has to do the resolution, but this is what, we're pulling out the limits on the pre-treatment program from the ordinance because they're brand new wastewater treatment plants, those are gonna change. And we don't want to come back to you and do this all over again, so it'll be a supplement to it, and that's what it is, it's just a supplement to the ordinance in a resolution for the limits of all those big words.
All those big words, I loved it.
And I would say Victoria's headed this up, and it's right.
It's right.
It's right.
Resolution 2026-22, Spectrum contract approval.
This is for fire station number 2 in the Haywoods back there. If you want to know more about it, it's kind of the same thing we did with the water plant, securing that contract.
Contract, yeah.
Yeah. If y'all want to know more, Haywood can come in here and explain further.
About the same thing we've had.
Yes, sir.
I'm good.
I'm good. Resolution 2026-23, fire truck acceptance loan grant. Yes.
Cut everything but this one. No, I'm just playing. So this is something we've talked about for several months, that the current frontline engine is on its last leg, almost becoming a Mercy, but it did pass pump tests. But this is a up to $1.1 million. We do have on hold that we can purchase. They'll hold it for 90 days if you pass it. So we still got to go through the bond closing. So that's for that and the air packs for that. It'd be a 15-year loan at, I just wrote it down.
Or something.
Oh, here it is. 1.1 at 4.625 for 15 years, and that debt
Just
payment
less
is
than
approximately
4%.
How many years?
15.
15.
Life of the asset.
And it's needed for the safety of everybody.
Mm-hmm. They need it.
Any questions on that one? Michael, you want to come up, discussion on-call towing services?
I'm here to talk about the exciting world of tow trucks. As you know, or as you've heard, we run a schedule or on-call list of tow trucks. And I'm going to explain to you why we run this list and why I believe that the records on this list should not be required to have a lot in the city of Mount Pleasant. So let's say Mike and the mayor, y'all get into a wreck, okay? I'll come up to you, I say, both your trucks are unable to be driven away. I'll walk up to you, I say, which tow company you want? You can pick and choose. You can choose one in the city of Mount Pleasant. You can choose one in Murray County. As long as they get there within 20 to 30 minutes, we're okay with it, okay? Let's say y'all in the same wreck, one of you gets injured and gets transported to the hospital, and we're not able to ask you which wrecker service you want. We say, send us the next schedule, okay? When we say that, we have a list of wreckers that we put on a schedule. It's a daily schedule. One wrecker will be Monday, the next wrecker's Tuesday, the next wrecker's Thursday, and then it starts over, because we only have 3 wreckers on our call-out list. That is how we use our schedule, okay? If you tie our hands on Mr. Moose's request of us being required to have a record service that has a lot in town, if I walk up to you and say, which record you want, and you say you want D&D, I can't call them because they don't have a lot in town, okay? You're going to be required to call them yourself. Kind of a service that we have. So, we also use the on-call schedule for if there's a vehicle broke down on the side of the road and somebody leaves it and it's there for 3 days, we'll call the schedule. At owner's expense, okay? All that's at the owner's expense. The city of Mount Pleasant does not pay a dime for these records that are on our on-call list. We don't pay them at all. Now, another way we use records is this: we tow city property, police cars, seized vehicles that the police department has. I wholeheartedly believe that that record service should have a lot in town. Grays currently has that bid, and we call them if we need them. So I look like I've confused all 5 of you.
No.
How long have we been doing that process?
Since 2009, July 1, 2000.
And it's worked.
Yes, ma'am, it works. Yes. We have recently switched. We were doing weeks. One record service would have a week. Next week, the next record service. We've switched to days now. That gives each record service about 10 days a month.
If you call the next one that's on call, if they don't answer, you just go on
We
down
go to the next one, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Grace, what other two?
Grace, Tim's, and then Die Hard.
Yeah.
Die Hard. Mr. Shane back there.
Shane back here.
Yeah, we have 3. We only have 3.
Where's Tim's?
Tim's is up on North Main, across the street from McGee's.
Okay, that with
He very
car lot, so to
seldomly
speak.
answers the phone.
Car lot, so to speak,
Yeah.
I call it.
Yeah.
All right, I know what you're talking about now.
Oh.
Everybody think about this till Tuesday, please.
I'm available. If anybody wants to sit down and talk about it, I'm available.
I think Mike explained it perfectly.
I don't plan on having anything on the agenda unless you want something on there.
I just don't.
I've
know.
had
We-
numerous conversations with Moose about this. I've explained to him, we've used the same records manual since 2009. It specifically states in there that any and all record services are available to apply, be on our call out list.
So you had a change is what made Mr. Moose upset?
So Norman's fell off our list. Norman sold to Mr. Papinal. So that left us with 2 records. We did not put an ad in the paper. Die Hard just so happened to fill out an application with us, and we accepted it.
That's fair to me.
And he answers the phone.
I think you got a good manual to go by.
Yeah, we copied it from the THP, from Tennessee Highway Patrol's manual, so we've been using it since
Yeah.
2009.
So I'm not, unless y'all want on the agenda, leave it at the departmental level, his policy.
Yeah,
yeah.
So it won't be on the agenda, unless you want it.
No, his policy.
Okay.
I don't have that thing.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Yep.
Repair sewer lift station pump.
Mayor and Commissioners, this won't be on the agenda either. I'll probably put it in my report. I didn't know when we get bids what it's gonna cost. But this is our sewer lift station right past the new bridge. 2 pumps. One of them is down, so one of them is working. If that one goes down, what do we got?
We're in trouble.
So right now I've got a quote of $22,000 to fix it. That's within my authority to do that. So we're trying to get 3 quotes to be compliant. But at least this one's one first one we got. It's under that 25,000 threshold. So I'll still put it in my report, but it won't be on there for approval.
Yeah, because it's within
Yes,
your
sir.
authority. Okay.
Sooner
Thank you
the
for
be-
letting
Sooner
us
the better.
Yeah, we don't want the
Yeah,
other
we
goes
don't need
down.
Yeah, no one state coming down on.
All right, comments from citizens. Lonnie Thomason, 618 Meadow Road. If you don't mind, please come forward. You got 3 minutes.
Terrible issues with this construction right now.
Okay, thank you. Good to have you here. Katie Martin.
Katie Martin, 206 South Cherry Street, as you all know. The stormwater, that needs to be addressed like 30 years ago. So if y'all could just pull the trigger on that, that would be great for everybody in Mount Pleasant, whether they realize it or not. Like even back to 1951, I was reading a state planning commission. They came down here and gave several recommendations on different options. And at that time, there was a petition program that was the citizens were petitioning the city and saying, I want this. They didn't call it stormwater utilities, like gutters and whatever. Anyways, I don't know what happened to that program. I got to figure out where to find the documents after this recommendation. But anyways, I don't know why you would push it off any later, because I feel like the inflation is going to make the costs go up. And I personally don't want to be a senior citizen and then read a public notice that says, oh, since we've kicked the can 100 years, we have to now charge people who can't go out and work, you know, whatever, $100 or whatever it's going to be at that time. And I don't think that would be, I don't think you're thinking about the future citizens of Mount Pleasant if you're kicking the can down the road. I don't know. I mean, I hope I'm able to work and pick up extra jobs then, but I mean, it's just not guaranteed. And I think it's just, it's negligent to keep on kicking it down the road. Also, if you do the fee or whatever, and you have to hire employees, like Shipper just went over having to increase rates for employees to keep them here, the increased cost of medical insurance and all these other things. I just think that would be, I would rather see it on my property taxes and know that there's a big lump sum and it's not being divvied out to employee wages and miscellaneous whatevers. That way it can get done. Like, I just think whatever's going to accelerate the process and is fair and equitable needs to be done immediately. Blasting. So, I don't know if y'all have any control. I've heard no control, but I don't think that just because you don't have the legal authority to control it means that there's no steps that can be taken. The county pays for lobbyists to go to the state legislature every session and lobby for the needs of Maury County. The mayor we have now has expressed her willingness to work with the cities within her county. I think it would be wise to, even if you don't reach out to her, to make time to go to the state legislature and reach out to the people at the legislature. So there can be protections added. But that's all I got.
Thank you, Katie. Shane Rowden,
I think Chief A covered everything.
good to see you, dude. Shane and I go a long way back. Miss Kathy Pepe.
Welcome back. We haven't seen you in a while.
Oh,
Hi, Miss Kathy.
Kathy Pepe, 404 Washington. I'm here on behalf of Parks and Rec Commission. Just want to say that we are fully behind the thought process of a Parks Director, fully behind the Phillips thing for the Senior Center. We're very, very excited as the commission for what's happening with the Recreation Center. We've got a lot of things that are in the works that we're planning on doing, that we're hoping to do. And having a Parks Director will just help that whole thing a whole lot more. That's not even getting into the issue that had happened 2 nights ago, but just on the positive side. I think the city is at the point in time that we need to be doing things proactively for the benefit of all the citizens. And I think having the parks improved upon and the parks usable by all the citizens. We're doing multiple activities throughout the year. We're trying to go to all different parks. We would just like to see that continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Kathy.
thank you. Good to see you. All right, that's all the comments.
I just forgot to sign up. Is that up to you?
Very quick, very quick, very quick. Like you got 1 minute and 40 seconds. You're taking up the rest of Kathy's time, so get on with it.
Just a comment on one of the R3 description, and I'm condensing this, that was talked about at the Planning Commission. There were 3 different options presented. The Planning Commission was to choose one of 3 options. There's actually 4 different elements in those options. One was that you could locate R3 outside of the downtown area in a suitable area. Then it was described as where there's sufficient access or the site is supported by adequate commercial services or land uses, where there is sufficient access to transportation networks, where there is sufficient infrastructure support, and the last one is it is compatible with surrounding land uses. Well, in the end, the Planning Commission chose the first one, but it left out the most important in my mind, which is the compatible land uses. Because that is the only item within that list that's not mechanical. It's the only one that's in the list that allows the city commission to protect the residents. That's what comprehensive plans are for. That's what zoning plans are for, in part to protect the interest of the residents that are there. So without that land use compatibility, you really have no way of turning down an R3 request because they're going to meet most of the other categories. The only discretionary thing you have is whether it meets the land uses that are around there, whether it's going to be imposition on the neighbors or not an imposition on the neighbors. And I know that people outside of downtown and inside downtown both don't want apartment buildings dropping in on the backyard. So my proposal is put all of them in there.
We are right now, the reason we are doing this is our planning and zoning ordinances have not been written since I've got elected 10 years ago. And we're just trying to get everything up ready. We're going to do this piece by piece.
Yep, that's why they would. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, comments from commissioners. Mike? Ms. Lori?
Well, we have a lot to think about, a lot to talk about on Tuesday. I'm just glad that with the accident that happened with the bleachers, no one got seriously hurt. That's a blessing.
Amen.
But something has to be done.
Yes. Anything else?
No, I'm not gonna start with the blasting because you know how I feel about that.
Okay. Willie?
I guess I said my piece at the Park and Rec meeting about how I felt about the bleachers and tonight. I guess another thing, the blasting, I guess Corey will look into all of that for us. And we don't want our citizens to think that we don't care, we're not looking. We don't know, right? But we can look into it. And I just want to say, Tuesday night when we was at the park, how our firemen and police officers and the ambulance, they did an awesome job trying to get everybody taken care of. And our city ought to be proud of them. And Philip, your staff did awesome. And I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, I agree. It was really wonderful to see how many people were out there immediately helping them, just calming kids down and all that kind of stuff. So I just really appreciate it. And it was really nice to hear the tornado siren.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. To hear
No,
all the
you
windows shut.
you spoke for 30 minutes.
You and I are cut off.
Y'all are cut off.
But I still don't know what to do for Tuesday.
What do you mean?
I mean, with stormwater, if y'all are leaning in the direction of funding it through a property tax, we'll put it in the budget, and Schiffer needs to know that information before she puts the budget together, or at least kind of where anyone's thinking. If y'all are leaning in the direction of a stormwater utility as the way to build the funds, I think our recommendation is to defer that part another month, but we do want to know how y'all felt about how we reallocated that money as far as the $350 for every residential and the ERU and how we were calculating that. So, I mean, I don't plan to put the stormwater utility resolution or ordinance on the agenda for Tuesday unless y'all tell me that that is something you definitely want to move forward with and you're super happy with those numbers. So, did I?
No, I think
Okay.
I think you summed it up right.
Well, my suggestion is, I agree with the tax, putting it in our tax and setting it aside for our stormwater, but allocate it for just stormwater.
Only got one citizen here, and she's for the increase. So there you go. She outweighs everybody.
I'm Texas.
So the stormwater utility could always come, it's something that, because it's a utility, we could bring in at any time, but again, the tax rate is something we'd have to do now because it has to be passed by the end of June. So We're not taking it off the table, but it will not be on the agenda then for Tuesday. Okay?
I'm just gonna add, like, Corey saying.
You had 45.
I was just gonna say, what I put in the budget for, on the May meeting, which is Tuesday, that's still not set in stone. Like, we still have one more reading in between that meeting to the June meeting. But you do need to tell me publicly what you want, hopefully on Tuesday. So that way I have a confirmed answer.
Oh, I like it. I like that dollar
We could wait
24.
for
Is that what it was?
No,
2426, yes.
I have to set the agenda tomorrow.
yeah, it'll be off.
Okay, all right. That's all.
You got,
I do have something I'd like to add. This morning, Philip and Shipper and I attended the Murray Alliance, board meeting, and, I spoke there, and I want to publicly thank Philip and Shipper for the job they've done, particularly as y'all were talking about who was over there. Everybody, the staff that's here tonight and everybody we've got, folks, y'all don't know how fortunate we are.
mhm.
And it is a wonderful staff, and it's from all the way through. And if you don't believe it, as sad as it is, have an event that happened and you show up and see what they do. It is wonderful. So, thanks to everybody, and we'll see you Tuesday.